Welcome to Newsmax TV. I'm Ashley Martella, and we're on the line with four-star General Richard Myers, the 15th Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the highest-ranking uniformed officer in America. After a distinguished career in the Air Force as a fighter pilot, he held several high-ranking military positions, including Commander-in-Chief of the North American Aerospace Defense Command. On October 1, 2001, he was named Joint Chiefs Chairman and the Principal Military Advisor to the President, Defense Secretary, and National Security Council right at the earliest stages of the War on Terror. His uniformed service to this country spans 4 decades. Now, General Myers has written a book entitled Eyes on the Horizon, Serving on the Front Lines of National Security. In the book, he proposes a new plan to prepare the country for the security threats of the 21st century. Welcome to Newsmax, General.
Hey, it's great to be with you. Thank you very much.
In your book, you say you believe America has misidentified its adversary, focusing too narrowly on tactical battles instead of long-range strategy. Would you explain, please, sir?
Right. I think after 9/11, of course, we had some things we had to do right away. Afghanistan was one of them, and then we went into Iraq. So we had those two fights going on. But the development of a strategy to deal with the whole issue of violent extremism, we didn't take the time to do that just because we were so busy with the day-to-day. And we tried a couple times when we get close to it. But in my view, it was never sufficient to come up with a strategy that would deal with violent extremism on an international basis.
Okay, an official memo emailed to Pentagon staff members this week says the Obama administration is dropping the term war on terror and changing it to overseas contingency operation. Any significance to that, and do you agree with that, sir?
You know, the further away we get from 9/11, the dimmer our memories become, the more complacent we can become, and I think that's a danger. And I'm not an alarmist, but I did spend 4 years right after 9/11 looking at all this intelligence from violent extremists, and they want to do away with our way of life. Now they're not a great number of them, but it only took 19 to perpetrate 9/11.
The British say terrorists attacking a major city with nuclear or biological weapons is more realistic now than ever. A new declassified report called Contest notes they have thwarted over a dozen terrorist attacks. Now, do you think the threat is higher than ever, General? Do you agree with them?
You know, I don't see the intelligence on a daily basis anymore, but I do think the threat is very high. You know, it wasn't that long ago, well, just a little over a year ago, when that plot to bring airliners down over the North Atlantic, and I think there were, 10 or 20 airliners involved in that plot. If that hadn't been thwarted, we'd be talking about, 2,000 dead potentially from that. So, like I said, they're relentless, they're ruthless. If they could get their hands on dangerous material, nuclear fissile material, biological weapons, they wouldn't hesitate to use them as they want to bring down the United States in particular and the West in general.
Major General David Perkins says attacks in Iraq have dropped to their lowest level since August of 2003. General, do you think that's more evidence that we are winning the war in Iraq there?
I think things in Iraq are going extremely well right now, but I think as all the leaders in Iraq and General Petraeus himself, the commander of Central Command, say that it's reversible. So it looks like we're on a good path. We have Iraqi elections coming up. The political process seems to be working. The economy seems to be moving along. Security is certainly better. So I think there's real reason for optimism. I think we have to be very careful, though. There are people that would like it not to be a success. The Al-Qaeda are part of that. They've been pretty well decimated in Iraq, but they never give up. And there are other factions inside Iraq. And, of course, Iran, you never know exactly how they're going to want to influence things and events inside Iraq. So we have to be cautious, but I think it's reason for optimism right now.
How big of a threat do you think Iran really is?
Well, I think any country that sponsors terrorism, which Iran does, that doesn't believe in the existence of the State of Israel, so that doesn't portend a very good outcome for the Middle East peace process there between Israel and Palestine. And any country that's pursuing aggressively nuclear weapons, I mean, this is not a good thing. And so we can hope that President Obama's overture to Iran for talks will bear some fruit.
Obama's made no secret of his intention to abandon plans for a U.S. missile defense system in Eastern Europe. Is that a mistake, do you think?
Well, I'd leave it up to the experts on that. I think one thing is for certain: the only country in the world that can build an effective missile defense system is the United States of America. I think implicit in that is an obligation at least to offer to our allies and our friends the ability to protect them from the rogue nations that can develop missiles now and could possibly threaten them.
One final question, General. With the ever-escalating drug violence along the Mexican border, how do you feel about sending U.S. troops there?
Active duty U.S. troops, I think it would have to get a heck of a lot worse before you'd want to send U.S. troops under congressional or presidential decree to go down there. U.S. troops are not trained for law enforcement action. That is an extreme. That would be an extreme action, and the president can do it under the Insurrection Act. The last time that was done, I think, was in the early '90s in the L.A. riots. It's not something that is done, obviously, commonly, and I think I'd be very, very careful. Now, the other option is, of course, you can send the National Guard, and I know the Arizona and Texas governors have talked about that potential. They can go and act in a law enforcement capacity if they're under the auspices of the state, and that's certainly an option. If they need more manpower on the border, the National Guard is an option. But active duty troops, I think, could be a big mistake.
One of America's finest military leaders, General Richard Myers, thank you so much for joining us here at Newsmax.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the interview.
And thank you for watching Newsmax TV.